So I think this right here is the drill that you have, right? Where we have the wings do it. Once again, now we're playing 4-on-4 out of it. We are working on our middle drive, baseline drive spacing. So the front guard, first guard is allowed to go middle or baseline, whichever way he wants to, and that triggers the spacing that the rest of our guys have to get into. So we have him now. He chooses the middle drive. The slot guy spaces to the wing. Corner guys stay in the deep corner, and that big empties out. He makes a good pass. We get a one more. We get a good shot. Once again, unintended defensive reps here. Who are you guarding? Can you stunt and recover if you are this guy right here? Do you take away the outside edge of this pass? It started happening organically because you don't want to get scored on and you want to give people the chance to get back. He makes the one more pass. Now we get the shot here. And I think, you get unintended scrambles. You become a better passing team just because you start to read situations. Now we get a baseline drive and then we get a peel. So on our baseline drive and our spacing, we want the big to peel kind of to this elbow area here, kind of big to peel to this elbow area here. Whoever is in the slot kind of kill cuts to the basket to take two with him. So he does that. We get an open shot. And if he had this one more, he could have easily made that one more to the wing, but he chose his shot. So once again, we get a baseline drive. You see the baseline drive, the big peels. We get a kill cut here. Now he makes that drop off pass, and we get a layup. I mean, that's essentially without showing, some of our other offensive triggers that I don't want to show here. Or maybe we can revisit this at the end of the year. Let's say everything works the way it's supposed to, and we can talk about how we kind of went through it. But we did a lot of whether it was live action, our players against our players, or we did some stuff where it was just the players against the coaches, where it wasn't necessarily live defense, but it was different things to show you how you could come to different solutions based off how the defense is covering you with the same play,
Mhm.
right? How does it work when they're turning it down, when they're icing, when they're weakening? How does it work when they're in drop coverage? How does it work when they're hedging? How does it work when there's a switch? It's the same thing, but how does it work? And what are your solutions and how are they different? And at the end of the day, it's all about creating an advantage. And what does that look like when we create an advantage on a baseline drive? What does it look like when we create an advantage on a middle drive? What does it look like when we make those one more passes? And what does it look like when everybody is a decision maker on the court? And I think that's something that we try to do a good job of.
As I've talked to more coaches, the ability of the coach to get in there and just adjust slightly. I think sometimes when we think of like coaches jumping in, it's like they're playing full speed. And I don't know how you feel, but I'm getting too old for that. And so it's like throw that out completely. And so now it's either on air or just live play, but it doesn't have to be that. It could be just simply you jumping in and adjusting an angle for a ball screen or something like that, getting creative in how you just give them a different look. The other thing that you were talking about that I'm interested in hearing, you talked a lot about the unintentional outcomes of some of these. One is I just wonder, how did you feel like the mood of the players was when primarily practicing through these kinds of games versus maybe in the past where you did more of drill based on air stuff?
Well, especially when you're dealing with competitors, and I think we have a good group of competitors, they would rather compete than do things on air. So they would rather compete against one another's and have a winner and a loser. One of the things, essentially, especially when you're trying one of these drills for the first time, I'm showing you guys the good clips, but there are some messy ones in there where you first do it and they're like, wait, the advantage is so easy. I'm getting a shot off of one pass. Well, then the defense starts to get better and now you have to make more decisions and then it becomes a little bit more competitive. So the mood and the vibe in the gym was definitely higher and more upbeat because it became more competitive. And now because you don't want to lose and you don't want the other team to score, you start thinking of different ways to stop them from scoring, which makes them think of different ways that they have to score. And it became a very fun gym.